Dude, I took a beat down, and my story is not what happened after my first NASCAR win.
Right.
My story is what happened leading up to that. I've seen the best racing in NASCAR history since that car's come out.
I agree.
Best racing on track in history. The best in history. So stop complaining about it.
True or false?
I'm not going to say, but I'll tell you this much.
It's the Kenny Wallace Conversation, brought to you by JEGS.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Kenny Wallace Show, brought to you by JEGS, the leader in high-performance aftermarket car parts. Remember to go to jegs.com for everything and anything you need to do with your car. Well, I take a deep breath when I get excited like this. My dear friend, NASCAR Hall of Famer, he's won so many races and everything, Mark Martin. Mark, thanks for joining us.
It's good to be with you, Kenny. Can't wait to do this thing.
You got a beautiful home there, buddy. I love your roof. It looks very nice.
Thank you. This is a library. I don't spend much time in here.
Yeah. Well, Mark, you know what? We'll just jump right into it. The Kenny conversation is just that. It's a conversation. You and I have known each other forever. But the fans, Mark, they love you. And the first thing they all want to know is, what is Mark Martin up to? Where's he at? What's going on?
Man, I'm living life. I don't know how you could possibly be so dang busy and be retired. I sure didn't have time. I wouldn't have time for a job right now. Yeah, tell you. I just stay really busy doing the things I love. Get to see some family, made, some friends, and just living the good life.
Mark, we have so much to talk about. I've made notes, my friend, but I get to see you. Your fans do see you on social media. And we've had this conversation before. You said to me, Herman, you got that dirt car, and I have this motorhome. Buddy, those motorhomes that you are building for yourself are absolutely a piece of artwork. By the way, thank you for sharing your newest build. Tell us how this motorhome RV, how this started.
Well, first of all, for the ones that aren't following along, if they want to, they can go to one Mark Martin on Instagram, or the Mark Martin official page on Facebook, either one. And so this build started about 6 months ago, and we just had to one up. It's my thing, just like you like your dirt modifieds, or we need to have a thing.
Right.
Without a thing, I'm in trouble.
We all are.
I'm in big trouble. I need to have something that occupies my time and my brain, and gives me drive and all that stuff. So I really love these things. I like getting around. I like going around in them, but I like as much designing and finishing and perfecting as I do anything. It's the process. It's just like building that new race car every year. When we started racing, I don't know about you, but we built a new late model every year, and you built it better than the one before. And that's kind of what I do now. It's what I enjoy. I built a new one about every 3 years. So the last this is my third one in 6 years. So it's going to last me. I'm planning on it sticking with me more than 3 years for sure. This one, we're taking it to the next level.
So, Mark, I see what's going on. You build these beautiful motorhomes, buses. I think bus is a more high-end word for it. You build these. You use them for 3 years. They have the Mark Martin effect. They're absolutely beautiful. The wiring, we get to watch it be built. And then I see people line up to pay you, if not the same, more for this beautiful bus because you've had it for 3 years. Have you had people already call you yet for this one you're building?
This, well, not for the one I'm building. Of course, the one that we have now presently has been spoken for I don't know 9 months or so.
Yeah.
A long time. Yeah, a good solid 9 months. So it's spoken for. I wish I could buy one for me. I mean, the work that I put into one after it's finished is just astronomical. Just making it mine and perfecting things and making things work even better. And it's my thing. I don't like to be the handyman around the house. I do the things that I got to do, but the vehicles are not really my thing. Golfing, this is my golf game.
Yeah.
I mean, it is my, it's just what I love. It's what I love to do.
Yeah. Mark, I told my son-in-law, Brody, I said, Brody, for the last 6 months, my life has been changing a little bit. I've got 2 torn tendons in my shoulder. I've got a little spot in my eye now. I've got cortisone shots in both my knees. I've got a fractured ball in my foot. I've got to find something that will occupy my time because I'm like you, Mark. If I don't go up to that shop and tinker with my race car, because see, this, all my work is in that shop. Going to the racetrack second.
Right.
So, Mark, I understand what you're saying. You have your motorhome and I have my race shop. So, like I'm trying to wean myself a little bit off this race car because my body's starting to fall apart. Because I work on the car.
Yeah, well, I know about the body falling apart.
How are you doing, Mark? How's your body?
Yeah, I got cortisone shots in both knees just recently.
We're the knee brothers.
Yeah, buddy. You'd never know that Kenny Wallace was dealing with pain. You would never know that.
Yeah.
Well, the same with me. You'd never know it, but from social media or whatever. But chronic pain, dude. Chronic. I got my knees jacked up. I had a total reverse shoulder replacement last summer, and it's doing well. And I'm having a rotator cuff repair in June of this year, so I'm gonna be out of commission again for those shoulder repairs. Those shoulder surgeries are probably the most major ones that you can do. And I have reoccurring back issues. My back will be strong as an ox, solid as a rock, and then out of nowhere it'll flare up and give me hell for long periods of time. So yeah, that's part of getting old and part of going hard. And we have both done that.
Yeah. Well, Mark, you're still the man. You're a legend. I know you're hardcore, meaning that, you're all about business. Let's change it up a little bit. So, like I said, you've done it all, Mark. In NASCAR, you're a winner. You're a Hall of Famer. But I believe, besides you and I being forever friends, the reason I say that is because when I was 12, I was watching you race, my brother Rusty at Lake, Ozark Empire Fairgrounds in Springfield, Fort Smith, Arkansas. That's just a little bit of the background. So I was able to watch Mark Martin grow up. And what I think has stuck, besides you being great, and Mark, by the way, congratulations on, once again, that's an easy decision. One of the greatest race car drivers in NASCAR history. It's really nice gift they give you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're the man. My question is this. I believe your greatest accomplishment is the greatest race car drivers to ever live, Mark Martin, Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt Sr., they respect you like Aretha Franklin, capital RESPECT. Mark, you got to know that everybody looks at you with just, they're just like, oh my God, Mark Martin. When did you know that was happening? Is there a span of 5 years? Was it 1999? Tell me about this respect that you definitely deserve.
I think it all starts back from, 1977 when Rusty and I were racing and learning how to race with Dick Trickle and Bob Sineker and Tom Refner and some of the legendary short track racers, learning the code, adhering to the code, racing with them and working. And respect is just not something that you can't buy it, and you can't force it. You can't make anybody do that.
You don't get it because you win. You get it because you do it proper. Is that right?
I think that respect comes through time, and you earn it.
I agree.
And it takes a long time, to build that, and that the respect that I have been given by the competitors has been, the crown jewel of my career, and it took a long time to build that to where it is today.
Yeah, so glad to hear you say that. That some people like to go no, but Mark, you and I know that in the day, 1970s through the 80s, the great state of Wisconsin was the epicenter of asphalt short track racing, and they would paint a white line around the middle of the racetrack, and if somebody was on your outside and you moved up into that outer lane, they would black flag you. You and I know that, the great Dale Sr. also said, give me a lane. Give me a lane. And Mark, I know that you always gave another racer a lane to race you.
Well, that was part of the culture. We were just very sportsmanlike. We believed in may the best man win. We competed fiercely.
Yes.
But there wasn't any underhanded, shenanigans pulled. It was, may the best man win today. And if I got beat, I went straight to the shop. And I learned at an early age when I was racing against Wayne Brooks, and then later Larry Carson, and then later Larry Phillips, and then later Dick Trickle, and then later Dale Earnhardt.
Wow.
That I could win, I could beat them if I made my car good enough. And if I didn't, I wouldn't. I never considered out driving those guys. I just tried to beat them, and I had to beat them with a better car. And that's where I kept my focus all through my career, was on the vehicle.
Mark, I love that conversation because, I grew up with you and Rusty and Mark Martin. And that's one thing that Rusty, my brother, pounded into my head was quit putting so much pressure on your ability as a driver. When we were kids, we went to the local go-kart track and we'd watch those go-kart go around. And we always wanted the fastest go-kart. We didn't say put me on the slowest one. So it was you and Rusty and Larry Phillips that said, make your car faster. So I guess the question is, do you feel like some of these kids nowadays, not that there's anything wrong with anybody, do you think maybe people lost focus on the speed of the car?
Well, I mean, it's just a different age and a different era. And these kids come up, we didn't have any video games to play or iRacing or anything like that, simulation of any sort. So these guys, from really little kids start racing cars, even though it's simulated. Um, and they evolve right into the driver's seat of a race car. And it's just, that's different. And it's not all bad. I might have been a better driver if I would have put a little bit of emphasis on myself, but I never thought about it. I mean, I just did what I did and I drove like I drove and I tried to learn and improve. But if who knows if I would have studied the craft even harder than I did, in a similar way that I did the car side of it and the hardware side of it. Who knows? It could have even possibly been better. But today, most drivers don't know anything about their cars, and that's okay. I mean, there's engineers and there's a team of people behind them to make them go. When you and I got started racing, it
was
was
us.
it was us. It was up to us. There was
Yep.
nobody. There was nobody around us that was more knowledgeable about those cars than we were.
I always said all you needed was somebody to tell Mark Martin when to pit. He'd set his own race car up.
Well, I mean, you too, you worked on race cars way before you ever started racing, Kenny. And, that's just that's just the part of it. We studied the cars and we knew that if we made our cars better, heck, man, I paid attention. You'd have a guy who ran in the back all the time and all of a sudden he's running mid pack. And I'd ease over there and go around his car. Not that he would ever outrun me, but he's done something to improve his deal. Let me see what that is. And those are secrets now that, you can't, it's much more difficult to look at other people's stuff as it was, when we came up. Hey, Rusty and I would tell each other what we had in our cars all the way through his final year in 85. I mean, 05.
Yeah.
Rusty's last year, 05 or 06.
I forgot to.
Yeah, I think it's 05.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think it was 2005. So, all through our careers, if we weren't running worth a damn, we could go see each other and say, look, man, I ain't running worth a damn. What do you got?
Weren't even teammates.
What do you got?
Yeah.
And Rusty would always tell me, and I would always tell him.
Roush, he's driving for Penske, and you're sharing exact truth information.
Yeah, and the thing about my relationship with Rusty was so cool because I came to Lake Hill Speedway.
Yeah, Valley Park, Missouri.
Yeah, in 70.
Yeah, I remember.
I think it was. I was going somewhere, and I stopped in there to watch him race, and he was so damn excited.
Oh, we all were. Mark Martin was there. It shocked the whole racetrack.
Well, this guy came over and said, Rusty, how much tow out you run? He said, I run 5/8 in.
What?
Of course he was lying to the guy. But he never lied to me, ever. So that was a really strong bond because I appreciated that. That night he was running second to Gettelmeyer, and
Len Gettelmeyer.
Yeah, he spun his ass out to get
You
the
remember
win.
that damn name? Rusty spun Len out because you were there. He wanted
That's
to
exactly
impress you.
right.
But he spun Len out, and you're like, what'd you do that for?
Yeah.
So, Mark, listen, this is the Kenny conversation. It's not an interview. We're discussing. So you kind of led me in this area. There's no doubt in my mind that you were in my era. I was born in 1963. You were the first driver I ever witnessed in my life to come along at like 12, 14 years old. You were running Artco and ASA at 15 years old and winning the biggest races of all time. What was it like for you to be a child and winning these 400 lap races? What do you remember about that?
Well, to get accurate, dead on accurate. I was running art go races at 18,
18.
but I was 110 pounds and looked 10.
You did.
And that was 18 was a big deal
Back then.
back then. It's old now, but back then it was, I mean, people were losing their mind because this kid, was racing with these hot dogs, and every once in a while we beat him. We beat Larry several times at Springfield at the fairgrounds, which was a huge deal.
I was there.
Rusty beat us, Larry and I, a few times as well. Larry got his share as well, but that's kind of where it started. When I was able to beat Larry at Springfield, that was a big deal. In '76, I was still running my late model and dirt car, and I went to Bolivar for a big race, and they had a bounty on Ken Essery. And
55.
Yes, sir. And I had to make my way into the race through the C, then the B, then the A. And I didn't know how to run dry slick because it was mud tracks and clay back where I came from. And we started the back. I hugged the bottom. There's moisture there. Everybody's running the black. I just passing cars. When the checkered flag came out, I didn't even know I won.
Oh my, you were so focused.
Yeah, I won the race. And Ken, I think, from looking back on it, I think Ken runs second. But, there were goals, there were legends in that race. And I was 17 years old and didn't have a clue.
Good thing you didn't know who they were.
I hardly knew.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I had heard of Ken Essery. But anyway, that was a huge win in my career. And then the following year, we managed to beat Larry a few times, and then we, and I believe it's around September. They had the National Short Track Championship at Rockford, Illinois, and we thought, well, let's go from Batesville up to the National Short Track Championship. We'll get to race with the greatest in the nation. And
you did.
And we set second fast time, Trickle's fast time. We were second fast time, and all the legends. I look back, that's 1977. All the legends were there. All the short track legends were there. And I had some help in the inverted 12 cars, the 200 lapper. And I had some help in the race. Some of a few of the hot dogs had some problems, but we won that race, and we had no idea. And if you want to know what the biggest win of my career is, that contends for the biggest win of my career. It was unbelievable. We had no idea we could do something like that. And so, that just, that sort of went along with picking up other wins and, winning ASA races. It was 78 before I won ASA race. I won the championship too in 78 at 19 years old. And that might as well have been 12, back then. People, and all of that stuff just continued to springboard me toward NASCAR. And, in 1980, we won our third ASA championship in a row and had the most incredible season you could have ever had with a revolutionary car that Ray Dillon and I designed together that everybody had to have. I mean, your brother had to buy one. Dick Trickle had to buy,
I got one in 1986. They're the best.
I mean, everybody had to have one. It was but anyway, after that year, it was like, dude, it's time to make the spring, it's time to take the steps. So we just, it was like climbing a ladder or climbing a set of stairs. It was one rung at a time, just like the respect. It was gained just, an ounce at a time until it finally added up to, a pound.
Yeah. So this conversation and listening to you, you said at Rockford, they inverted the field. You had some help along the way. I mean this with love. I'm not picking on you. Do you ever think that you're too hard on yourself?
Yeah, I'm way too hard on myself, and it's a curse, but it is who
From your
I
mom or
am.
dad?
I have learned to embrace who I am,
Good.
and to minorly tweak who I am is possible, but to change who I am ain't gonna work. It
Ain't gonna
don't.
happen.
It causes problems. I've tried to do it,
Yeah.
and in the end, it caused more problems than just embracing who
Good.
and what you are. So yeah, I'm pretty rough on myself. Um, I am, known to be kind of humble, and I'll step outside of being humble at times, but publicly, it's important for people to know that I got my ass kicked, and it wasn't easy for me.
Yep.
And I rose to the top of motorsports at a super early age, and then I fell flat on my face and lost it all. And that changed me, to the humble side, which is a good side. I mean, I don't know how I would have turned out had I not had that humongous failure in 1982 and 83.
So I don't want to beat a dead horse. That story might have been told, but I don't think it's real popular. You're saying that you think throughout your life that was the turning point of when you were doing your deal, but you went to NASCAR, it didn't work, you came back, then you get the call from, Jack Roush and Meal. But when you went back to NASCAR, that's when you said, you feel like that's when you changed a little bit, being a little more hardcore?
I changed. I still was pretty hardcore. I didn't have to work on my race cars anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, so I had great, smart people that could work on them.
But that moment of failure, that 2 years where, NASCAR, it didn't work for you in NASCAR. I think what I'm hearing is that you said that ain't going to happen again.
Yeah, well, I was careful. I wasn't careful the first time. I had a little ASA team with a little group of guys that did fabulous pit stops and everything else. And we went NASCAR racing in '81, and um, in our uh, in our third race, we set on the pole and finished 11th. And in the fourth race, we ran we qualified. We finished third. In the fourth race, or the fifth race, we ran. We set on the pole, and I started one lap down, last place, one lap down, because the car, David Levendahl forgot and left a rag in the carburetor and put the air cleaner on it so it wouldn't start. Long story short, we were banging wheels with Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty and all those guys. We were doing pit stops. We finished third at Martinsville doing pit stops against Junior Johnson and
With your own ASA team.
Bud Moore and everything. So I thought I was hot stuff.
Never thought about that. Well,
After that last race, that Martinsville, that Richmond race, we went home, and I was working in my uninsulated pole barn in North Liberty, Indiana.
I remember.
And the phone rings, and hello, Mark, it's Waddell Wilson. I'd like to know if you'd be interested in driving the 28 car.
Oh my, I never knew this.
Yeah, the 28 car that sat on the pole in Daytona in 1982, that I'd have been in that car. Of course, Benny Parsons was in it, and he got fired after 7 races. So who's to say I would have succeeded? I don't know that I was ready to drive better than Benny Parsons. Anyway, you know what I said?
Obviously, no.
No, Waddell. I'd rather do my own deal.
Wow.
And because I would have had to fire David Levendahl, Banjo Grimm, and I'd have had to get rid of prototype engines that was giving me free engines, and I just would have had to it just didn't seem like anything. Besides, I thought I could beat them. I didn't run third, sat on 2 poles out of 5 races. I thought, man, I can take my little program. I don't need no sponsor. I'll win a race in the first 5, 6, 8, 10 races. And
And Jed's a millionaire.
And I'll be NASCAR. So I did it.
You were ready.
I moved to Charlotte, built me a car, went to Daytona, run terrible, and blew up. And had to fire my crew chief on Sunday morning before the race. So I left Daytona broke, and we never ran as good the whole year. I ran the whole year, but I went broke. And at the end of the year, I had to have an auction and sell everything I owned in the shop.
This is painful.
To pay off Goodyear and Hutchison Pagan. And I paid them off, and I said, I'll never own a race team again.
Yeah. And
so I got the call in December, early January. Mark, is JD Stacy. You want to drive the 2 car? That's the 2 car that Tim Richmond won 2 races in 82. And I said, hell yeah. I had no idea that the team was going broke and that Dale Inman wouldn't be there anymore. And, it was underfunded instead of being the team that it was the year in 82.
He didn't tell you the details.
In 7 races. Well, hell, I was so confident in myself. He said, well, get your lawyer, do up a contract. I said, I don't need no contract. I don't need no contract. We'll just do this deal. So we ran 7 races, and I got fired. Said they wanted somebody with more experience. And we'd run 7th and 3rd, we ran good, but not good enough. And so after getting fired, nobody in NASCAR would touch me.
So that's a cautionary tale.
So I had to move back to Wisconsin. First guy I called was Ray Dillon, because free cars is what I used to get.
I'm back.
He said, Mark, days of free cars are over. I had no money. I had no tool. I had nothing. And so it was hell getting a program going for 1984. And we managed to win 1 ASA race and some ARTGO races. And the next year I got to go drive for Jerry Gunderman with Miller High Life as sponsorship and Jimmy Finning as a crew chief. And we won, 4 races, but we blew too many motors because it was we had Ron Neal prototype doing Ford motors, and he didn't have it perfected yet. And so then in 86, we won 5 races in the championship. And at the end of the year, I got a call to go bush racing for more money than I was making in ASA winning the championship. And Jimmy Finnig had the opportunity to go be Bobby Allison's crew chief in NASCAR. Yeah. And Jimmy said, I ain't going if you're staying. And I said, well, then we're both going, because I could not bear the thought of Jimmy Finnig not taking, the NASCAR opportunity. So when Jack, so we won 3 bush races in 87. After the second win, our third win, Jack, calls. And I didn't really have any plans on going NASCAR racing again, but the deal seemed right. I went and met with Jack, and I didn't ask him what he was going to pay. I asked him how many tires he's going to buy, who he's going to hire, what kind of cars he's going to use, and could we test enough? And he said, we're doing all of that. And we stood up and shook hands, and I found out later that what I was getting paid, and it wasn't much, but it didn't matter. I wanted another chance. And Jack Roush was the only person willing to give me a chance, give me a second chance. And for that reason and others, I stayed with him for 19 years.
Mark, let me tell you, I read books before, and I learned what the word cautionary tale means. It means listen to this story. Caution, because, you know, Rusty, my big brother, taught me this saying, and I share it on social media every once in a while. And it goes like this. It's sad to say, but you have to remind people every once in a while because they remember what they want to. And what you just told me was a cautionary tale that Mark Martin just didn't jump into NASCAR and kick their butt. You had a rough road. Now, when you got back there and you got settled, you became a Hall of Fame racer, but it's an incredible cautionary tale. You know, it wasn't a bed of roses. I really appreciate you telling me that story.
Well, that all comes back to, the thing, cautionary tale, careful of being overconfident.
Yeah.
And I had confidence. I had a damn reason to be confident.
That's why you're the way you are. You just told me.
Exactly. I've just told you why that explains, the modesty.
You don't have euphoria. You're just.
I just, dude, I took a beat down, and my story is not what happened after my first NASCAR win.
Right.
My story is what happened leading up to that. That's the real story, and that's what we're working on. Someday we will have a really kick butt book. We've been working on it already a year, and it may be another, it may be another year or two before it's available, but it's, it's going to detail a lot about what led up to, my childhood and what shaped me into the person I was, and then how I got myself into a situation of being overconfident and not knowing, I'd never been in the pits of a NASCAR race when I showed up for my first cup race. I'd never even been anything but in the grandstands. So I didn't know what I was getting into.
So I read, I am a horse with blinders on when I need to be, but I do have peripheral vision. As you're going through this book that will come out whenever it comes out, that you're talking about right now, is this book therapeutic for you, or is there a lot of pain going through writing this book?
I've been able to suppress the pain. So I'm at total comfort with all the hardship that I went through. I'm grateful for the failure because that made me the person I am today. And I don't like to think about what I might be like had I gone to the Daytona 500 in 1982 in the 28 car.
Yeah, right.
And won the Daytona 500. I shudder to think the man that I would be today. I'm grateful for my experiences. We had a lot of disappointment in NASCAR, especially in the 6-car and the Roush days. And I'm not bitter about that. I'm just damn thankful that I got to work.
You came out alive, buddy.
Yeah.
You came out alive.
Think
better
about
than bad.
Think about all the great people in motorsports I got to work with, and all the great things, and all the checkered flags, and all the good days. A lot of people want to, talk crap about that I didn't win a championship.
Oh,
right?
Those are meant to be, Mark. They're meant to be.
Or they call me Mr. Second Place. Well, I accidentally stumbled into 96 NASCAR wins and in the top 3 series. So I may be Mr. Second Place. I understand that, but I accidentally screwed up and won 96 of them. And when you think about, and that's getting away from being modest, but it's the truth. I
like hearing this because I think everybody's like this.
I got a text the other day that said that I believe it was 101 races or something like that I was either first or second.
Yeah.
Okay, so hell, I won 40. So I only ran, like 61 times I ran second. So I ran second more than I ran first. I'm sorry. Apologize if that hurts your feelings, but I'm pretty damn happy about it. It means I ran good.
Those people that talk like that, they're not happy with themselves, so they want to lash out. And what I always say to those people, first of all, is go F yourself. I do. Charlie won't let me cuss on these shows, but I say it just hardcore. Look, go and what's your end game here, bud? You doing this to make yourself feel better? But let's lighten it up a little bit, Mark. First of all, you're the man. You are. You're listen. That Hall of Fame is no joke. That's one tough ass group. And if you're in the Hall of Fame, you somebody. So you're somebody. Let's lighten it up a little bit because I do want to talk a little bit of NASCAR. This one might catch you off guard a little bit, but let's talk about your son, Matt. I love him. He is such a well-structured man, and it has totally shocked me that he collects fictional books, sells them. Tell me about Matt. I wish he was right next to you right now.
Well, his passion is sort of rare books. That's what his passion is. So he, that's what he would love to be in business doing. So he set up a Rose Rare Books.
I see it.
And he has a lot of first edition, first printing books that, and he's got a couple from 1860 something. So he's got lots of books that are over 100 years old that are in pristine condition. And so that's kind of his passion. But what he's done, lately has been to start the Mark Martin Archive.
I see it. I love it.
All started with the book.
Oh.
So he thought, Instagram page will help promote this book. So he started that. Well, it just blew up and went crazy. And he's such a perfectionist in things.
I have two of your t-shirts and I wear them.
Yes, sir. And you look good in them too. So anyway, long story short, Mark Martin Archive on Instagram kind of started that. And then, people started going, wanting merchandise. So, and this, but most of the listeners don't know this. So we opened a store, markmartinarchive.com. And nobody has any idea how hard it is to get the approvals to do any diecast, for example. The first thing would come out of the gate, want to do the Folgers car. Nobody on the face of the earth knows how to get a hold of the Folgers legal team that would approve it. But through a chain of events and about 6 months of working on it, we made that happen. Got the same thing from Stroh's. Oh, you'll never get you'll never get approval from Stroh's. Well, Matt actually was able to reach out through their social media, got into the right contacts. So long story short, my first win diecast from 1989 Rockingham is, and this is a great story. It is up for pre-order. It's going to come out probably in June. There's not many left. There's only going to be 700 made.
In real.
It's the real deal. It has, at the end of that race, it had silver wheels on the left and black wheels on the right. And guess who the silver wheels came from? Rusty Wallace.
Was it the Gatorade car? What were those silver wheels?
I think he was in the Kodiak car.
Okay.
In 89. He was but he run several wheels. And my guys must have traded tires to get the stagger where we wanted it.
We did that back then.
You would see that. So anyway, long story short, he did that, got the Folgers win from North Wilkesboro. That car's up for pre-order. Got the Talladega car where we ran 500 miles and averaged 188.3 for 500 miles. It was caution free 500 miler in 1997 at Talladega. That record will never be broken. 188.3 for, so that's up for pre-order. We got that approval, and gosh, there's another super
and this
cool
is all Matt. This is your son doing all this.
Yeah, he's doing it all. I mean, I've helped him some. I helped get the Folgers thing, but beyond that, and I got him the right valvoline contacts, but and he's working with Lionel for that. But he's also doing incredible retro T-shirts that just blowing everybody away. So that's Matt. His real passion is rare books, but his passion right now has been learning about my career. He knows more about Rusty's career than I do, and he knows more about my career than I do, except for predating, my SA stuff. I know everything, and every time there's a hair out of place on that deal, I know. But I lost track in NASCAR because I didn't build those cars. My hands weren't all over them. And so I don't know, but I can tell you what springs and the entire setup from Rockford, winning Rockford, the National Short Track Championship. I'll tell you what was under the car. I can tell you what was under the car at Owasso, Michigan, earlier that year, or at New Smyrna at our first race that year. I know what springs and sway bar and weight distribution and everything.
And that means you're sharp. That our bodies might be getting a little old, but you're sharp. And I must say that Matt does share some pictures with me. We got each other's phone number, and he'll send me a picture. And the one, my phone's right here, but I don't want to take the time to look at it. The most famous one that I like lately is you and Rusty at Springfield with Rusty's bread truck, and I think Rusty's standing up and you're kind of laying down a little bit. But those pictures are magical. And I do want to comment on something else that you said you're building 700 of these number 6 Strohs cars. Or is that right?
That's all that are going to be made.
That's what I want to make a point about. You're the real deal. We're not making more, just 700.
It's immediate collector's item.
Yeah.
They're going to immediately be worth $200 the first day one, and only going to go up from there. That's Matt's deal. It's about collector's items. So all these diecasts are going to be limited only to 700. And I know the Talladega car, there's like 400 signed and 300 unsigned. Mark Martin Archive exclusively.com is selling them. And last I checked, there was like 12 autographed ones left. The rest are already sold out.
See,
and there's only
there's
only about 100, 100 of the unsigned left, and they're not even going to start delivering until June.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Mark, let's change the subject a little bit. We're coming down to the end here. I want to talk NASCAR just a little bit, and then I want to ask you one final question. Mark, your voice matters. People listen to you. So I've got to ask you about NASCAR. This new next gen car, what is your thoughts on just that car coming into NASCAR?
First thought that comes to mind, that is not a popular fan, opinion, but I've seen the best racing in NASCAR history since that car's come out.
I agree.
Best racing on track in history, the best in history. So stop complaining about it.
Right.
The other side of it is, I don't like it. Would hate it. Would hate to be driving now. The guys hate working on them, and they ain't saved no money yet. So I'm not a lover of the car. It looks like a sports car underneath. It doesn't look like a NASCAR car. I've already told you, I don't like sour grapes. I don't like old people saying how great it was when they were growing up and how junk it is now, because I was a young guy and I had to listen to that when I was coming up, and I'm not going to do that. It is what it is. The concept was solid. The concept of the car was solid. And the damn competition is unbelievable. So it is here. It's here to stay. Let's improve on it and go forward. The only other thing I want to say about NASCAR is you said my voice matters. I say it doesn't.
And I got more questions about that car.
It matters to fans. It doesn't matter to the important people. It doesn't matter that much to NASCAR. I've never had NASCAR's ear like Dale Sr. had. You know, and I've never been a political guy, but you know, it is what it is. That car is what it is, and we should just make the most of it going forward.
So the other facet of this car is the crazy hardcore tech inspection that comes along with the penalties. So you and I right now, you know, we're breaking this car down in segments. I agree with you. Car's been incredible. I love the racing. Give me your opinion of the tech inspection and then the penalties that come out. You know, we race on Sunday, we get these, you know, on Wednesday and Thursday. Give me your opinion on tech inspection and penalties.
I don't like it. You know, I just reflect on Denny Hamlin getting the race taken away over a piece of helicopter tape. I understand. I get it. I understand that NASCAR has to have tight tolerances. I understand where we are today. Don't make me like it. I think that, you know, these penalties have to be done. I don't like seeing appeals being overturned or lightened up. They didn't on mine. My most critical one, you know, they should have. The
2-inch spacer at Richmond.
Yeah, you know, but they didn't. Back in the day, when they made a decision, that was a decision. Now it's more complicated. What happened back in the day, even in the mid 90s, you go to the racetrack, get beat, you come cut the body off. You could push the tail to the right an inch and push the nose to the left an inch. You can't do that. 70 thousandths will get you thrown out of here.
Your fingernail.
Yeah. And that's the biggest tolerance. You know, there's a reason for that.
So
because we kept pushing and kept pushing. And you know better than I. You know more than I do, but I'll give you a good analogy. Dirt late models are the last best racing we have because they have some rules, but they don't have so dang many that you can't breathe. And it's really cool. And your modified stuff, maybe I have my finger on the pulse of Davenport's car and team and program, so I kind of know. I still am, but if you want able to enjoy dirt late model, its purity and to the core, and not just on track experience or product. You know, asphalt late models, it's over. It's just like NASCAR. I mean, you can't do nothing, and it happens all the time. These guys, you know, get wins taken away, the snowball derby and this deal and that deal. It's the day we live in. There's so many smart people pushing so many buttons that you had to regulate this. Well, first you had a long template. Everybody cheated all over the car everywhere else. So then you put cross templates on it. Then you just cheated in everywhere else. Then you put the claw on it. Then you just cheated in between the claw.
You're taking us along the steps of all the inspections.
Yeah, and then you get the eagle eye scan thing, you know, and it's like, that's how it is. It's how we forced it to be that way because there wasn't 2 or 3 smart people around. There were hundreds doing it everywhere, and you just shouldn't complain about all this tech inspection stuff. It has to be tight and it has to be enforced.
So I just want to, I got to go back because you brought it up. I'm going to say it, and then I'll probably, it might be said wrong, but I want you to fix what I say. In my opinion, you were going to win the NASCAR Cup Championship, but you were, that motor in that race car had 2 1-inch spacers. If it would have been welded together and been just a solid 2-inch spacer, they would not have penalized you. But that moment in time, you were found illegal, and it cost you the NASCAR championship because they took so many points away. You went to Atlanta, the motor burst into ball flames, which was a Yates motor.
No.
Okay, fix
that was the year before.
Okay, well, tell me. Okay, you're right. All right, let's go with that penalty. That's the one I want to talk about.
All right, so NASCAR's been allowing you to weld to the top of the intake manifold because people were fussing about some manufacturer had a short manifold and the carburetor spacer was only allowed to be 1.5 inches, I think it was at the time, I think. And so somebody's car intake was too short, so they decided to let you weld on top of the intake manifold. So you could weld 12 inches on the frickin' manifold if you wanted. But on the letter of the law, the spacer said it had to be a max of 1.5 inches. So everybody, and us and everybody else, were welding up the intake manifold to put them where they, right up against the hood. Basically, you want your air cleaner up against the hood. Basically, is what it was. Well, we got ready to go to Richmond. Robin put the air cleaner on it, closed the hood, and it's like, damn, this thing needs to be moved up a 1/2 inch. So he takes it apart. He ain't got time. We're running late. So he puts a 2-inch spacer on it. Don't matter. They're not enforcing this rule anymore. You can be as tall as you want. We passed tech 4 times, 3 times, whatever, pre-tech, qualifying tech, after tech, pre-race, after the race. I'm not throwing Richard Childress under the bus, but he was walking with a NASCAR official and points to our thing and says, there it is.
Yeah.
Bill French Jr. used to always go to the races, but he didn't go to this one, and he wasn't there. So they call him up on the phone, and he probably isn't as aware as the NASCAR officials that they'd been letting them weld to the intake manifold.
He didn't know the totality of where he got to.
Long story short, he says, put them at the back of the, find them 46,000 and put them at the back of the one lap down. That cost us 46 points. So we come out of the gate. We're real strong. We run 3rd in the points the year before, our 2nd year together with Roush. And that's where I blew up at Atlanta. I was actually 2nd in the points when I blew up at Atlanta in 89, our 2nd year. So anyway, we take the point lead in May. So you can whine about the penalty if you want, but we led the points from May all the way to the next last race at Phoenix. We go to Phoenix. Dale Earnhardt sits on the pole, leads the most laps, and wins the race. And we run 10th and never lead a lap.
Gotcha.
So you can also say that's where we lost the championship, because we went from leading the points to behind going into Atlanta.
Right.
And so we go to Atlanta to test. Earnhardt shows up to test 2. We take 3 cars. We beat our brains out.
All hands on deck.
All hands on deck. And the 28 car was setting up there. Earnhardt shows up. He runs about an hour and a half. He's quicker than everybody. He puts it on the trailer and leaves. Goes hunting.
Yeah.
And they asked me if I want to drive the 28 car. So go up there and put the rags in the seat, and I go out there, and the first time by, I'm like a quarter of a second faster than my fastest lap
And
of my
you don't even fit in the seat.
of my 3 cars. And so all this is going to be detailed in the book. So I'm not going to go into
Okay, yeah, that's
great
good.
detail. But at the end of the day, we borrow that car and a Yates motor for the race. And you can say that's why we lost the championship too. A lot of people do. But we ran, first of all, Matt pointed out to me recently that we ran out of gas twice in the race and had an ignition box go out. So in black and white, we ran 6th and Earnhardt ran 3rd. And we lost by 26 points. So what that means is really the only way I could have won the championship was win the race.
Yeah.
What makes you think that I would have won the race with one of my cars?
Right. Yeah. Which was a quarter second slower.
Which would have drove a little bit better than Davy's old blow snout, but it would have had 60 less horsepower.
Yeah. Yeah. Roush never had horsepower. You made those motors look good.
So
true or false?
I'm not going to say, but I'll tell you this much. I always worked on center of the corner speed, always roll the corner, always roll ASA and everything. So long story short, there were multiple, we lost the championship in 2 different ways, but I don't think there was any chance that we would have went there and won the race with our own car. We had only won 3 races the whole season. Why would you expect to be able to pull Atlanta off?
Yeah. So we got here because we're talking about the next gen car. We're talking about tech inspection and penalties. So we've wrapped that up. I want to, one last thing, or a couple questions more. Beating and banging. So I went to Bristol, and they just are knocking the hell out of each other because the car's like a German tank and they can get away with it. The front of the car is so strong that they're just, as you see it, me and you watch the races, and I talk to these guys still. I asked Austin Dillon, I said, Austin, why in the hell are y'all just knocking the hell out of each other? He says, Kenny, we used to have to guard against it because we knocked the radiator out. He says, these cars are so strong, it's the only way we pay them back. What is your opinion on just the totality of knocking the hell out of each other nowadays?
It's a different day and age, Kenny, and, embrace it. I like the contact. I don't like seeing dirty. I like seeing racing side by side, race your guts out. It's
Door
okay
marks.
if you rub some. I'm all good with that. I don't like seeing, I'm not a big fan of bump and run, but this stuff's fun to watch. Racing on product on the racetrack is fun. It's a different day and age. Everybody's cars are closer together in speed, harder to pass. We used to build our cars so dang light you couldn't touch somebody or it'd mess something up.
So light.
But it's a different day and age.
Yeah.
And I embrace it. It is what it is.
I like it. So we've had a lot of hardship in this interview, but very therapeutic. Let's wrap NASCAR up right now. What is good about NASCAR?
The competition on the racetrack. It's the crown jewel of stock car racing. It still is, has been, since the 60s, 50s or 60s. And it's an opportunity for a lot of people to realize their dreams, which is work on big time race cars and race teams.
I asked Chip Ganassi one time when I was working for that NASCAR race day show. We had Chip Ganassi on. I said, Chip, You've won all these Indianapolis 500s. You're the greatest IndyCar owner, second to Roger Penske. Why do you want to be NASCAR? Chip Ganassi kind of gave me the same answer you did. He said, because NASCAR is where the show's at. I like it. So he's right.
He's right.
Mark, let's end it like this, buddy. When you look back on your career, it could be at any time, but during your racing career, what was the most happy you ever were in your racing career? What time?
2007, when I went and drove the 01 car for a limited schedule.
Bill Davis.
Yeah, that was again, and the Army car, 01 Army car, 07. Then 09 was real happy too, with Rick Hendrick in the 5 car. We set on about 7 poles and won 5 races in 2009, and it was a blast. What a blast.
Mark, you were wonderful. I love you. I appreciate you. This was a great time. We as you know, we keep going on and on, but that was very therapeutic for me. You taught me a lot. And listen, we're going to wrap it up. We want to let everybody know that we are in podcast form now. So what a great interview. You put the earbuds in, you go to work, and we're in Spotify, iTunes. So check us out. The Kenny Wallace Show. Kenny's conversation just keeps on rolling. And until next time, we'll see y'all later.